We've made it to Friday. It's Friday in the week before Thanksgiving. After several very, very cold days, which I must admit I complained about, the day is beautiful today. The temperatures have warmed and the earth seems livable again for human beings, at least in this part of the country. I'm Pastor Lou Kilgore, and I am currently serving as pastor here in the ministry of the High Mountain Presbyterian Church, and I'm happy to be part of this offering called the Pastor's Chat. It's an opportunity for us to think inside the box, right? Because here we are, I'm sitting inside a beautiful structure. It's not massive, but it's a beautiful structure with an A-frame, lots of beautiful pine in the ceiling, and it's a box. Its very boxy nature is part of what makes it dangerous for congregations to gather in at the present time. We don't have an air exchange system here, and so we are one of those congregations that has our building closed for now. But we've been branching out in other ways. We're finding other ways. And I think many weeks ago now, earlier, I started this pastor's chat. I thought I had avoided that yawn. I started this pastor's chat now months ago, and remembering some of the things that I talked about at the time, because there was initially this massive shutdown of the whole nation. And in some ways, we ambitiously embraced it. And then as it began to wear on, and even during that time, things like this pastor's chat came out of an image that I had about bypass surgery that I had been aware of. And the amazing realization that when one artery is blocked, a pathway of life and health and food and nurture for the body will grow a natural bypass. It will sense the shrinking possibilities in that artery, and it can do its own workaround. I spent a whole 15-minute, 20-minute chat on this once before. But as we come back to what, to me, I can't help it. It just feels like, here we go again. My world is getting smaller. More and more friends are telling me that their businesses are closed. The township office is now closed for COVID. And not closed in the same way we heard about it before, but because there it was closed and we don't know when we're going to reopen. It's closed for 2 weeks to have, a separation period to try to limit this virus. But it's pretty clear that for a lot of us, Thanksgiving, the gathering and the big meal and the time of reflection and gratitude on our lives in that setting it's not going to be happening for a lot of families, and mine. That will be true of my family. I spoke with my father yesterday, and he told me that another part of the family is having a get-together, and he's decided he's not going to go. And I said, I think that's smart, Dad. At 94, I think that's a really smart move. And so, for him, there's a lot of issues related to the grief of my mom. This is the first Thanksgiving without my mom. And it's a big deal. I know many of you have been through this before. Approaching these holidays with carrying around the loss and holding it close. And how these days, the specialness of these days, brings that sense of loss very close. I'm going to adjust the sound again. I think it snuck up on me. So, for some of you, this will be the 10th year without a loved one, the 15th year without a loved one. And with this blockage, our hearts will be challenged to form bypasses in many, many ways. We've been thinking and working for the congregation to further invent and encourage you, our members, people, to go past the normal things that are blocked and find new ways of connecting. Find new ways of doing what we've done. Our ministry to the food pantry has always been a big activity, but we've always been here in the building to celebrate it and then to pray and thank God for being able to share gifts with each other. This year, we had to invent a bypass. We did a drop-off for food. It was very successful. People brought food. They also brought money. They sent money. And so we were able to put some wind in the sails of the ministry of the Center for Food Action as they reach out to people who are, they're not just feeling sad about not having Thanksgiving. They're really worried about the winter's coming and it's cold and they've got to pay heat and electric and rent and they're not sure. How are we going to do this? We need to invent bypasses. They need to be good ones. They need to not assume the usual. Finding ways to reaffirm our love for each other and our care and compassion for each other without being able to be together. It's a challenge that the human being can rise to. We are enormously creative. And it makes us smile when we see our creativity in practice. And it reminds us that we are co-creators with God. So, as the traditions fall and are unable to be kept, and the anniversaries are stunted, we push on. We push on. We find other ways because we have so much goodness to celebrate in our relationships to each other. Yes, I know there's brokenness and there's difficulty and there's hardship and there are lots of places where the relationships aren't working, but we are so capable of expressing love and concern and compassion and mercy to each other. And when we do it, it makes us feel good. So, I'm back to just encouraging you, whoever you are, whether you're a member of my community or whether you're just a stranger, drop by to see what a pastor might be talking about on YouTube and Facebook. Just pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone and call someone and tell them Happy Thanksgiving. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that you miss them and that you're glad that they're in your life. We can make this blockage of the Thanksgiving ritual become a major bypass through which many, many more expressions of gratitude and love are shared with each other. I don't know, I suppose that if this chair were available in more than just virtual reality, you might choose to come in and talk about your sadness, about things that aren't going to be happening. And I don't even want to begin to talk about Christmas. But how will it be special? It'll be cold, I'm sure. Maybe there'll be snow. I don't even know if that'll be good. I've noticed the Christmas lights are up. It feels earlier to me. I know you're going to say, no, Pastor Lou, it happens early all the time. It just feels really early to me. I saw a Christmas tree through a person's picture window in their house. It's all decorated and all lit. I get it. We're trying to make bypasses. We're trying to do what human beings do. We are resourceful. We are resourceful. That's the thing. We are resourceful. We have deep wells within us. When autocratic and totalitarian governments have tried to dominate human beings, to take over them, they've deprived them, they've taken things away from them, and they've punished them. And in prisons, they try to break the spirits of human beings. What emerges is that human beings are so resourceful. We are deep wells of ability. And we draw that from our Creator. Our Creator, who is a deep well of resourcefulness, whose mercy is unending, whose generosity goes from generation to generation, whose patience is long-suffering, whose creativity did not end on the seventh day of creation, or the sixth day, but who is still creating and generating and responding to, yes, the brokenness of life, the resourcefulness that is deep in our lives. Finding ways. I saw a cute commercial, maybe you've seen it. I like well-done commercials. Take 30 seconds to tell a whole great big story, and they're beautiful. I have no idea what the product was that was being advertised, but it was a really sweet story. Two houses next door to each other. There's a child in one house. There's a grandmother, aged person in the other house. And they're in isolation, you can tell. And so the child comes to the window and holds up a piece of paper that says, "Hi." And evidently they didn't know each other. They must be new neighbors. And the elderly woman puts up a sign that says, "Hello, what's your name?" And so they quickly exchange names. And the child says, "What's your favorite color?" And like this illustration of this boundarylessness of our resourcefulness, this young child and this older woman, they build a bond. In 10 seconds, you're aware a bond has been built between them. And then the story moves very quickly because the child comes to the window and the older woman is not there. And you worry that she might have died or something might have happened to her. And the child looks through the window and waits and waits. And then, one day, she looks over and there, her never talked to before but bonded friend is back in the window. And this time, the camera shows a wristband that the person has been in the hospital. And the story is over. Enormous resourcefulness. Even in a little child, even in an elderly person, finding sometimes silent but powerful ways of being who we are. We are creatures of connection. We are creatures of love. Even if we're wounded, even if we've been discouraged, even if we're sick, we still have this well of resourcefulness in us. I think about all the people who are sick and many who are elderly who go into nursing homes or they're in hospitals for long stays. And in a place of loss and sadness, what happens? Relationships are struck. Relationships are formed with the nurse or with the caregivers. Relationships that become important, really important in the lives of those people are born. They are discovered and they are nurtured in what are sometimes the hardest settings. This is very obvious to me when I do a funeral for someone who has been either in a nursing home by themselves or in a memory care facility, and then they die. And then I do their funeral. And the number of their friends from their life is gone, they've lived on, and there really is no one to gather at their funeral. And then you look up, and who is at the funeral? But the woman who was the morning shift in the nursing home, who made a bond and a connection with the person who died. Enormously resourceful. Here, even in the valley of the shadow of death, the power of God is at work in bringing life and hope and newness, relationships and joy and happiness. Believe it, my friends. Believe it. Put it to the test. Watch it happen. Even in the days of pandemics where people are dying, they are dying, and they are dying right now at an alarming rate. But we have the capacity to create a bypass that says, not on our watch, you don't. And I don't mean just avoiding getting the pandemic, I mean getting involved in ways that make new friends, that build relationships that are casual into deeper relationships. Being and exercising that resourcefulness that is in us. This is the work of God, who in the valley of the shadow of death brings life and hope and joy, even a surprise. It's rough times. It is. It is. Canceled weddings and birthdays and baptisms and anniversaries. It's tough times. But the resources deep in you, my friends, are real. Here in the valley of the shadow of death, as the cloud of a pandemic looms over us, we fear no evil. We do what we need to do to protect ourselves, and then we let the Spirit of God go to work in us, shining a light of our resourceful love, caring, giving more deeply to food pantries, and just writing the checks, just getting the help out there. Get yourself on to the blood flow that is part of the bypass. For that's where life is today. That's my prayer for you today. I don't know what your questions were, but they have to be somehow in these things, because we share these issues all together today. May God bless you and strengthen you. I pray for you. Call me with your prayer requests. Send your prayer requests to me through emails. Let me know how I can reach out to you. This is my effort to say, let's create a bypass. And so many of you have been taking a part of it. And I'm so grateful to hear how important this conversation on weekdays at 2 o'clock has become to you. And because it is to me as well. Thank you. Thank God. Thank you, God, for the enormous resourcefulness that we have. Help us to find it and to share it in the light of your love. Even as this day has turned from frigid, cold, and gray to a day of warmth and sunshine, may our lives too, by your grace, make that same transition. That's all for this week, my friends. I will be online preaching and leading worship on Sunday at 10 o'clock. Please come and join in. If you'd like regular reminders of when this ministry goes forward, subscribe on the YouTube channel, hit subscribe, or on Facebook, hit follow. If you follow us on Facebook, or if you hit that subscribe button, look around for it. It's there on the page you came in on, and it will bring this up. It will tell you High Mountain Presbyterian Church has gone live, and then you can choose to join then, or remember to come back and click on it later on. God bless you, my friends. I hope you have a warm weekend, a clear weekend, and a weekend filled with the power of God's love and life flowing through you into the settings in which you live. God bless you. I'll talk to you in this setting on Monday.